Good morning, class. This is Ishita ma'am, and I'm again back with your teaching learning video. So, I have been teaching for the last 2 days the chapter Packing from your Beehive book. So, I guess till the part which I've already taught, you don't have any problem regarding that. And if it is so, I hope you'll be writing that to me as well. So, in my last video, I have completed explaining till para 10 of your book. Okay, and to recapitulate that what has happened over there, let me just tell you that we have been reading about the three funny characters, Jim, who is Jay, and George and Harris, and about their packing just the day before they were supposed to set out for River Thames. And while doing that, it's the author who proposed to pack himself, and there was a lot of commotion that took place while he was packing. Okay, and then we have read and explained about the toothbrush episode, that how the toothbrush used to haunt the narrator whenever he is traveling and all such thing. We have also started explaining about the part that it's George and Harris who were supposed to pack the hampers, and George and Harris completely created a mess out of those packing of the hampers. Okay, till para 7, it just says that the author did not see them, or have not seen anybody with such a commotion making with just an amount of butter. Okay, and what has happened, that the butter was there, tried to be put in a kettle, and then the butter did not get in, and then it was kept in the on the chair, and it was Harris who sat on it, and then they moved around the whole room searching for it, but they could not get the butter. So I ended up in this very juncture. Okay, I ended it up here. So from para 11 today. I'll take my oath. I put it down on that chair, said George, staring at that empty seat. So George was the one who scraped that butter out of his slippers and had kept it on the chair. So George says that I'll take an oath that I have just put it there, okay, on the chair, and now he could see that it's just that empty seat. Harry says, I saw you do it myself, not a minute ago, said Harris. Then they started round the room again, looking for it. And then they met again in the center and stared at one another. So what happened? So both of them started searching for that butter, searching for that lump of butter, and they moved around the whole room and again came out there at the center, meeting each other again. Most extraordinary thing I ever heard of, said George. So mysterious, said Harris. Then George got round at the back of Harris and saw it. Okay, so what happened? That they both agreed to the fact that it is the most extraordinary thing that somebody could hear of. Okay, and Harry says it's so mysterious. Then somehow George got round at the back of Harris and saw it. Why, here it is all the time, he exclaimed indignantly. So he says that George could see the butter to be stuck there at Harris's back, and he says, can you tell me why here it is all the time? Why things when lost could be found all here? Where? Cried Harris, spinning round. And Harry says, where and where? And he started spinning round. Stand still, can't you? Roared George, flying after him. And George asked him to stand still, because Harris was spinning around and George at the back of him. And then both of them could not catch hold of that butter. And then George just told him to stand still. And they got it off and packed it in the teapot. And not that the butter was thrown after that. Once it was taken out of his back, it was packed again in the teapot. And then Montmorency was in it all. Of course, Montmorency's ambition in life is to get in the way and be sworn at. Okay, so after this butter episode and everything which is there, another hero who has not been referred to here is Montmorency, their pet dog. Okay, and it is Montmorency's ambition in life is to get in the way and be sworn at. Sworn at is to be scolded very hard. So here, Montmorency was there in all. He was there, and according to the narrator, it's his ambition in life to get in the way and be sworn at, because it's his ambition in life that he will be disturbing people out. If he can squirm in anywhere where he particularly is not wanted and be a perfect nuisance and make people mad and have things thrown at his head, then he feels his day has not been wasted. Okay, so this is very nicely written out that Montmorency's ambition in life is to get in the way of people and be sworn at. And also he says that unless he completes his day, okay, by disturbing others, or others will be scolding at him and things will be thrown at him and he becomes a perfect nuisance. Unless all these things are done for the day, he thinks that his day has been wasted. Okay, if those things are not done, then he thinks that the day has been wasted. But if he could complete by getting scolding from others and things thrown at him, he thinks that his day is completely not wasted. To get somebody to stumble over him and curse him steadily for an hour is his highest aim and object. And when he has succeeded in accomplishing this, his conceit becomes quite unbearable. Conceit is his pride in himself. So what happened? That to get somebody to stumble over him and curse him steadily for an hour is his highest aim and object. So what will be Montmorency's highest aim and object of life? It will be to make somebody stumble over him and curse him steadily for an hour. Okay, Montmorency to be cursed constantly for an hour and people will be stumbling over him. This is his highest aim and object. And when he has succeeded in accomplishing this, his conceit becomes quite unbearable. And when he completes doing this, or when he succeeds doing this, okay, so then his conceit that comes, that the pride in himself, that see how I have cherished my pride, so this very thing becomes quite unbearable. He came and sat down on things just when they were wanted to be packed, and he labored under the fixed belief that whenever Harris or George reached out their hand for anything, it was his cool damp nose that they wanted. So how did Montmorency manage to disturb others? See, here are some of these examples. And before all this, let me just tell you this chapter of Montmorency, the part of Montmorency. Who was Montmorency? What is his ambition in life? All these things are important for your short answer type questions, SAQ. So he says that he came and sat down on things just when they were wanted to be packed. Okay, all the things were scattered and people were making and people were about to pack those. So Montmorency always used to come and sit on those very things which he wanted. And he labored under the fixed belief that whenever Harris or George reached out their hand for anything, it was his cold, damp nose that they wanted. So whenever Harris or George, they reach out their hand for anything, it was his cold, damp nose. Whenever George and Harris used to stretch their hands to take out or to take anything for packing, they used to always get the cold, damp nose of the dog. I guess you know the nose, of course, of dogs are cold and damp only. So whenever they used to stretch the hands, they used to get the cold, damp nose of the dog. He put his leg into the jam and he worried the teaspoons and he pretended that the lemons were rats. So what happened? How in this packing he used to intrude himself? He used to put his leg into the jam which is kept open. He used to just trod on them, used to put his leg on them, and he used to worry the teaspoons which are kept. That is, he used to jump on them, he used to skit on them and all such things. and he pretended that the lemons were rats, and he thought the lemons were rats because they, lemons, they go on rolling once it's not stopped if you roll them on the ground. So the lemons are as if they are rats, according to Montmorency, and got into the hamper and killed 3 of them before Harris could land him with the frying pan. So what happened? That just then, when he thought that those lemons are rats, he used to jump on them inside there, in the hampers also. And then what would happen? Harris would come and land him with the frying pan. Okay, I told you that when things are thrown on him, so he used to think that his day is not wasted. So Harris also comes with the frying pan and throws that on him. Harris said, I encouraged him. I didn't encourage him. A dog like that doesn't want any encouragement. It's the natural, original sin that is born in him that makes him do things like that. Okay? Original sin is just like, something which is very natural in you, a natural instinct that is there within yourself, and you just need to nourish that. So, the narrator says that Harris always used to say that I encourage him. But what I meant, or the narrator says what he means, is that a dog like Montmorency doesn't want any sort of encouragement, because it's his natural original sin that he is born with. It makes him do things like that. He does not need any sort of encouragement to do all those things. Whether you encourage him or not, whether you scold him or not, this is just his natural instinct with which he is born, and he is able to do that as well. And he is able to complete disturbing others as well. The packing was done at 12:50, and Harris sat on the big hamper and said he hoped nothing would be found broken. So the packing was done right there at 12:50, and then Harris, after completing all the hampers, he just used to sit on the big hamper and used to say that he hoped that nothing would be found broken. Okay, once the packing will be done, he sits on that and he feels that he thinks that nothing is broken. George said that if anything was broken, it was broken, which reflection seemed to comfort him. He also said he was ready for bed. We were all ready for bed. Harris was to sleep with us that night, and we went upstairs. So what happened? With that, George also said that if anything is broken also, let it be. And he said that he is ready for bed. Even Harris is supposed to sleep with them that night, and they all went upstairs for the night bed. We tossed our beds, and Harris had to sleep with me. He said, do you prefer the inside or the outside, Jay? So we tossed our beds. That is, the beds were moved one or the other on each on one side. Okay. And then Harris just said, do you prefer the inside or the outside, Jay? The beds were all tossed and then kept together, and Harris was supposed to sleep with Jay. And Harris asks him that, do you want to sleep inside or outside? I said I generally prefer to sleep inside a bed. Harris said it was odd. Okay. Now this is a twist here, just a pun rather, that inside or the outside. That is, he means that he'll be sleeping there towards the wall or outside. If a bed there at the corner is there, inside or outside, outside is just there the outer part or to the part which is open-ended, and inside here refers to the part which is closer to the wall. And Jay said that I prefer to sleep inside a bed. And Jay takes it in not that very sense of the position of it. Rather, he says that yes, we do not sleep outside a bed. We often sleep on the bed, and that's for him is inside a bed. Harris said it was odd. Okay. And George said, what time shall I wake you fellows? Harris said, 7. I said, no, 6, because I wanted to write some letters. Harris and I had a bit of a row over it, put at last split the difference and said 6:30. So George just asked him that when should I wake you up, fellows, in the morning? And Harry said at 7, and I said no at 6, because he wanted to write some letters which were needed. And then Harris and I, that is Harris and Jay, they both had a row on that very matter, that it will be 7 or it will be 6 and that way. And finally it was decided that it will be 6:30. Wake us at 6:30, George, we said. And it was decided that George is supposed to wake them up at 6:30. George made no answer, and we found on going over that he had been asleep for some time. So we placed the bath where he could tumble into it on getting out in the morning, and went to bed ourselves. So what happened? That George made no answer, and we found on going over that he had been asleep for some time. So Harris and Jay were talking about the time, and by the time George who have asked this, he went to sleep. Okay, and then when George did not make any sort of answer, they all went and could find that George has already been sleeping for some time. So we placed the bath where he could tumble into it on getting out in the morning. So the bath was kept, okay, a tub kind of a thing with water in it. It was kept just beside George's bed, so that when he wakes up there in the morning, he could tumble just there into it on getting out in the morning, and went to bed ourselves. And they both went for bed. Acha. Here the meanings, the split the difference. This means that they agreed on 6:30 because it was halfway between 6 and 7. I explained this part, so I guess you won't have a problem regarding this. So here we come to the end of the chapter, the packing. So it was a funny one, quite interesting, and I guess you have all liked it as well, and a humorous one. As I told you that Jerome K. Jerome's writing, they mainly focus, right, on the trivialities, on the petty issues and ordinary things of our common life that of course arouse our laughter. So this is what packing also hints at. If you are having such time at home, and you can always have a reading on the novel Three Men in a Boat, and if not, you can see the movies also, because there you could relate it well. So that's all. So if you have any problem, please do write it there, and I'll provide you with the study materials for the chapter. It's quite an easy chapter. You can frame out your answers also. This chapter is mostly important for your reference to context questions and mainly the short answer type questions. And any such thing, I'll be giving you guidelines with that. Okay, so just keep a watch on the school website and the YouTube links, and follow the channels for your further studies, and stay well at home. Thank you.